Goodness.
So I am wearing your tights today. Yeah,
Oh,
like I guess like might as well just do like the quick like just like show off.
I love. Oh, they look so good. Oh, you look so good.
They
I
fit
love
so
it.
well too. It's like I'm built, well, like a man. So
Mm.
they there's always it's precarious, right? When
Yeah.
you put them on, you're like, hmm. And for like you're a man like my size, like you get about to the knee and you're like, that's when you know whether or not it's going to be
Yeah.
a success.
Yeah. I
And got
get
to the
that.
knees, and I was like, yeah, this isn't a problem. It's I love the material. It's like it's I guess I shouldn't ask like how you who you manufacture with, but it's one of the better ones over there for sure. Like,
Oh, I'm glad. Oh, I'm glad. Well, that was my biggest thing was considering how many I've reviewed over the years. My biggest gripe was you got such a great looking pair, but it's like they feel horrible on the legs, and it's like, well, if I'm going to be in this all day, all night, or whatever, it's like I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel nice. And nothing was like, because obviously I wear a lot of dresses and skirts. I hate it when they have like that friction tug to them, and it's like,
hmm,
oh man, what is this? So yeah, there was a lot
yeah,
of thought gone into this.
and they have like an elasticity to them where you can tell that they'll last a while. Like like certain pairs you get and you're like, ooh, these are not long for this world,
Yeah,
even out of the
yeah.
box. And I'm not trying to say that certain places make those types of hose, China, but like so we
Yeah.
have to talk about China a little bit, just a little bit. I mean,
Oh,
like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
how come? First of all, I don't understand how they managed to get everything. Like they managed to get all the nylon factories, and they're just pumping them out, and uh, they're just being resold everywhere, like repackaged, resold. And I know that
It's
Robert from
crazy.
Shapings is like he doesn't mess with that stuff. Like he won't.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's why I have so much respect for them because it is the quality that they sell is like, yes, I've just this is what people need in their life, not thinking, oh, cheap and cheerful from China. But
I mean
yeah, I
it's.
won't I won't get into that. I feel a certain way about
I
that.
mean, since I'm the guest, I can get into it, right? Because it's not you that's popping off, right? It's me. I mean, you can't control what I say.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, but I agree with them. Like, seriously, there have been times where ink has come off. Like I remember I had a black pair and I put them in with I think a pair of my Cecilia de Raphael's and like a couple of her fancier,
yeah.
pantyhose to wash them in the sink. And when I came back, they were gray because the ink had leaked out into the water and
That's
ruined like four pairs of like Cecilia de Raphael's. And I was not happy.
God. Yeah, I would be fuming. I would these people, I would actually go back to that company and be like, do you know this happened? Do
Yeah.
you understand that this happened?
And then yeah, but you go back to the company and they're like, what company?
Yeah, yeah. This company doesn't like no
We,
longer exists.
we
It's
have no company.
never there. Yeah.
But and yeah, so there's okay, but what I don't understand, I'm going to ask you this question as a salesperson: like, how does somebody get away? We won't name names, but how does somebody get away with, say, importing a low quality like pair of pantyhose to the United States, repackaging them, doubling the price, and manage to not go out of business? How does that happen? I mean, it.
I don't. You know what? Honestly, I've seen that a lot recently. I even had this conversation with a couple of people, like just in my life, and I've had a couple of conversations, and it's like, yeah, how did they get away with that? And it's like you're buying cheap, like you can get them dirt cheap, but it is you manage to put up on like, and some of them, I think I've seen like a 500% markup,
Like
and you think
$60
you're
a pair.
selling, yeah, and you're like you're selling that, and it's like I can get that same quality off eBay or Amazon for like literally, I could probably get it for like 50p or a pound, £5
Yeah,
max if I really want to splurge. But you know,
yeah.
you think, wow. But honest to God, you know what it is? I see those people as they want to try and make a quick buck and then just shut down and then do it all over again, and it's just a repeated cycle. I see that all the time. You only think, why? Just
I think the only edge I would say, again, not naming names that some companies might have, would be ones that have the people who are able to stitch in the the male anatomy parts into the
oh
pantyhose.
yeah, Yeah,
If that's a skill, I guess it is. I mean, it is a skill. I couldn't do it. I mean,
I've not tried.
no, no, I would just be like, well, why don't I just cut them in half and throw them away because they're not going to exist
Yeah.
after I try to do that. But I mean, even still, the upcharge is ridiculous. But enough. I'm hijacking the interview. It's your interview with me. I'm auto journalism mode, so I'm going to defer to you because it is your interview. So let's
You
my
know
bad
what?
manners aside.
It's like honestly, this is like the great start. And you know what it is? I like the fact that, and I've noticed that with you, I can happily just go into it with you, and it's just like, yeah, let's run with the wind, why don't we? But
Right.
but yeah, no, anyway, so everybody, hello, who is watching. Welcome back to Sharing Your Journeys. So I have my amazing good friend, Pantyhose King, who I've actually done an interview with. Was it in December that we did it?
It was in
It,
December. Mm-hmm.
it feels like a lifetime ago. I'm not gonna
I
lie, my
know.
time has gone so quick.
I
It
know.
really feels like it happened months ago.
Yeah.
So obviously I wanted to bring him here and basically grill him. So
I mean,
okay, we'll not grill him.
I love a good grilling. No, grill me. You can grill me. You can flash fry me. You can saute me. I'm down.
Oh, I like this. I like this. No, only because you know what it is. Okay, so one thing I love about this guy, right, is he keeps it real. It's like, so there probably will be a fair bit of like cursing and everything happening in here, but we don't mind that. We actually like that on here. So it's all cool. So I want to get into it, like right into it. Tell me all about your journey. So I'd love to hear how how you started in terms of whether it was obviously as a child, if it did it happen later on in life. And literally it's just obviously the platform is all yours. Please don't feel like you just don't be nervous. Just
Oh, I'm me nervous.
I don't know, I was gonna say like wait, hold on. As soon as I said it, I was like, this guy
Well,
really
I
knows.
don't know. I've always been so shy about my pantyhose wearing. I just don't like to really advertise it
No,
that much.
no.
But it
I love
started.
that. I said, this is why I love you because it's so, you know what it is? You're just unapologetic. And I love that in a person. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking now and I'm gonna give the platform to you. So I'll butt in here and there, but I just want to take this time and cherish what you got to say to me.
Okay. So it started in third grade. There were two, they separated the classes into two sections, and each class got to do a play. I don't remember what play I did. It was not, anything, but the other half of the class got to do Robin Hood, and all of the boys in the other side of the class, they got to wear pantyhose. And I remember going back in from recess, and I was seeing them coming in from like doing their rehearsal, and the entire third grade class of boys were in pantyhose. And I just remember being like, oh, like I was transfixed. So it was not long after that I found a pair of my own. Like I took a pair out of my mom's closet and tried them on, and I was feeling things that maybe was too early to put words to, but it was a very enthusiastic experience until I got caught. And then it was not so much fun because this was the time, you understand, this was the 90s where my parents meant well and sent me to therapy because they were worried that whatever, but it was there was another I remember the psychologist saying, well, there's nothing really wrong with that, so you don't have to worry about that. So as I got older and puberty kicked in, well, that kind of speaks for itself. So I eventually, my mom just was and is very good at snooping. I could not keep anything hidden from her, and she find stuff of mine and then ask me questions about it. Like she would find like a male like exercise magazine that I hid under my bed, and she would find it and be like, so why do you have this magazine? And I'm just like, I want to work out, like she was just like that. So eventually she would find the pairs of pantyhose that I would buy like myself, like at Eckerd Drugs or whatever. And she'd go, what are these? What are these? Eventually I just kind of went, well, what do you think they're for? Like what?
I like that.
Yeah. After so much, you just kind of go, quit pretending like you don't know. And so it was dropped after that. It really was not something that she looked for or discussed. And then, and when I went to college, I wore them like sporadically, but I just kind of ditched it just because I was too busy like doing my best impression of Hunter S. Thompson during those years. But when I got out of college, and I got my first digital camera, I wanted to start posting pictures of myself online wearing pantyhose. And one of the things that I was really adamant about was there was a guy whose name was Mike, who I actually got a chance to interview on our podcast, Tights from My Mind. And so Mike was a big hero to mine because Mike was not afraid to post his face in any of his pictures. And a lot of guys, I'd say 95 to 98% of men who posted pictures online did not show their face out of fear of, bigotry or, a wife that with a vengeance, like, I don't know, that kind of stuff. But I just saw it as, I find it more interesting and engaging to see a human being that's wearing this as opposed to just a headless mannequin. So I posted pictures of my face while I was wearing, and that, without intentionally doing it, got me a following because I was recognizable, because I had a face. And so like, faces will do that. If I don't know if anybody out there, it's like, if you want to be recognizable, share your face. That's an easy in. But so eventually I got guys writing me and saying, you should do photos, you should do this, you should do that. And I got a lot of encouragement. And then one person dubbed me the Pantyhose King. I think up until that point in time, I was like SSQ 1428. Like, and the nickname stuck. And then I opened a website for Men in Pantyhose, and it's just, I've been really involved with the community ever since. I really, really, really love trying to help other guys get to the point where they can accept that what wearing pantyhose, wearing tights is so not a big deal in not just the scheme of like life, but even in the scheme of like, say, fetish or fashion. It's not like it's so common. It's almost laughable and I mean, you can attest to it. I mean, we were talking about it. The sales that you have represent that, correct?
Yeah, literally. It is, I would probably say 95% at least is males. Whether it is obviously they're buying for their wives, not many buy for their wives.
I mean, but who would do that? I mean, it's like if a wife, he's like, honey, would you mind going online and buying me a pair of pantyhose? Like, it just seems like an odd request. I'd be like, well, what size are you? Or, do you want?
Yeah, well, unless they indulge like that, that's cool. Because it's like, I've noticed a lot of people used to do that, but probably not so much now. And I realized a lot of the men, it is for themselves. And it's nice that they do. And it is very much, some people are like, okay, can you please kind of like, just, even though it's showing my name on the order, but can you like just not like tell anyone? It's like, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody.
They have the wife. They have the wife order, and she orders an XXL for herself. And then it goes to her, but then it goes to him.
Yeah. I've had that before. I've actually had someone do that before. They've been a female the whole time, had this whole persona. And then it was like, oh yeah, by the way. And I'm like, I wasn't going to judge. Do you know what I mean? And it was just, I mean, obviously it was one of those things. I think they'd just newly come out. It was a whole new world to them. So you can understand, but it was also, it's okay. Like, if we're promoting genderless and we're very much like anybody can wear it, just know the fact that you're never going to be judged. But I suppose some people still need to understand.
There are some companies I've noticed, and again, I hate to shit talk. What am I talking? I love to shit talk. And I will shit talk. But there are some companies that I've noticed out there who, for all intents and purposes, appear to be pro male wearers, but yet, and this is not anything against anybody who is non-binary or anything like that. But when you have only models that appear to be non-binary, or like that's the only representation you have of your male wearers, it's still a cop out, because that's not representative of what a lot of the guys who are buying look like or intend to look like. And so, or you'll hear, like even in the worst case scenario, this one company had taken advantage of a guy who I knew for a while in the community and had him pay for the photo sessions himself. He hired a photographer, a studio, and bought the pantyhose from this
Mm.
company and then had the photos taken and gave them without charge to the company.
Wow.
They weren't even comped like a pair of tights. Like,
Oh my God.
and I wrote the person who did that, and I said, just I mean, I know this, I've known this guy for a while, and he's a very sweet and very trusting guy. And to me, it seems like you might have used him because it's not proper business to make the person who is the model to also then hire the photographer, buy their own products. Can you imagine, going up to like a Gucci show and being like, oh no, you have to buy the dress and you have to buy the photographer,
Yeah.
and then you will give it to me for free.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
how is that supporting the
Yeah.
male community?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's egregious. And so that's why I really like companies like you. I mean, you're rare in the sense that you just are actually, how do I phrase it? You're not bullshitting. It's authentic. And you have been open to the whole notion of the male wares being of all shapes and sizes. And you are, well, and you're fucking cool. Like, but that would be regardless of whether or not you sell pantyhose. But the fact that you do have to sell pantyhose and you got this thing going on, it really adds to the coolness factor, I think, so works for me.
Thanks. No, I really do appreciate that, especially coming from you. The fact that like, and it is like I admire what you said, and I admire you because it is just you. You know, it is. I love your confidence, and I think that's one thing that really stands out to me from obviously when I first did the interview with you and everything, and kind of following you. It's like I love your confidence, and it is the fact that you bring the whole like no bullshit factor to it all. It's just it's kind of refreshing. If I'm honest, it's really nice to see that, and you think, oh, just it's what I mean, unapologetic. It is just like, yes, you're just being your true self. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. I love that about you.
And that's the thing, that if there's anybody out there who's wearing that has any sort of like shame or reticence about wearing, I know it sounds hard to do, but if you can just tell that part of yourself to shut up, like say for instance, you have because I spoke to a guy the other night, he has a wife who refuses to wear them during intimacy. Like,
Okay.
and which I said, well, that's not very fair. Like,
Mm.
that's not even a big ask. Like, so you could feel free to tell her like, well, then we need to go to therapy and talk about the fact that you're not willing to meet me at halfway on what I find as essential as part of my sex life. And this is in regards to men and who wear for fetishistic purposes. Although if you ask me, I think that many men start out that way and perhaps then graduate into fashion, and it is not as intensely focused as it was when they're younger. But there are some guys out there that are like, they claim they're leg wear fat, like they're not, like they don't have anything to do with sex, and it's leg wear and self-expression only. And it's like, yeah, sure, I believe you,
Oh gosh.
because
Well,
that's
yeah.
true.
No,
Because
I can see where you're coming from because that's what I mean. Like when I first heard about men wearing it, first I thought it was a fetish thing in terms of like, oh, okay, wow, like that is quite to me it was a lot at the time hearing that. But then also on the flip side, it is I know a lot of men who have worn it because of obviously they resonate with comfort as a child or like that kind of feeling. So you think it's never kind of been a fetish, and even hearing them talk, you think, oh, okay, it's actually not a fetish thing. It probably is just something that you just associate with a feeling, and you think, oh, okay, yeah, cool. So I can see where you're coming from, but then
do
also
you,
it's like I know other aspects, so it's
do you want a
like
little gossip? Do you want I got a little gossip. I won't name names, but I can give you
I
some
love
gossip.
gossip, but I shouldn't, but I love gossip.
So there are I won't name names, but there are a few prominent like unisex wearers that they push that big agenda of like no sex involved whatsoever.
Yeah.
My DMs say otherwise. Something. Something. And they know who they are. And I call
Oh
BS on them.
wow.
And they're very like very pointing their nose up at, like in public towards people like me. That's it's in public. They're so like just healthy and wholesome and wonderful. And they're just about, self-expression until so. That's the only reason I rail so hard against it, is because if I really believed that that was the case, then I would say, okay. But the thing about it is that with men, we don't have any sort of clothing item that's I'm going to mispronounce this. Analogous. It's like a analog. That's what I'm looking for. We don't have any clothes that are analog to tights or pantyhose in the male wardrobe. We don't have anything that's skin tight or that is that thin. So there are certain things that I think that you would have to be either deeply repressed or just an idiot to not have some sort of curiosity about. Because if you see a woman wearing an item of clothing that there's nothing like in any of the wardrobe that you could choose from, it makes sense that you would be curious about it. And it also would make sense that if the clothing is very sensual and very soft, that it would cause that kind of reaction. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing wrong. It may start out that way. It can graduate towards that way. But I wish people would be a little like less sexophobic when it comes to it. And I'm not saying you have to make it all about sex, but like at the same time, don't poo-poo people who are not afraid to say that it is part of their, of their sex life.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, because I've noticed a lot more people do, and I'm never against it. I think, look, whatever floats your boat, it's fine, right? But I've noticed a lot of people tend to shame that, and you think, why? What's the point? Like, just let them do what they want to do. But I've noticed that a lot recently, actually.
Okay.
Everyone's speeding down the road.
It wasn't that bad, mind you, though. It wasn't that loud on my end. It just sounded.
Okay. Oh, it's quite loud here, so thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. But no, yeah, it is. It's like I said, I've noticed a lot of that, and I think at the end of the day, I'm a lot more open to it compared to, obviously, because I'll still delve and talk about it, but it is just compared to what I was when I first started this whole hosiery journey, like back in the day, up to now. It's like, to be fair, nothing shocks me, but it is also like, just do your thing. If you're happy and you're comfortable, by all means, do you know what I mean? It's just be proud and be confident. But and obviously I understand it, because I know some people are going to be like, yeah, but it's hard. Like, have you like put your kind of feet in my shoes? And I can understand.
I agree.
But it's just, the more you kind of open up about it and speak about it and do it, and the more confident you're gonna be from it. You're gonna grow from it. So
I do. I fully empathize with people who are in situations where they have somebody who is like maybe a partner that is malicious, where if they found this out, they would go and ruin someone by talking about them or embarrassing them publicly, or if they're in a very small religious town where being anything other than what is established as the norm is considered, freakish. That I can understand. But I mean, I just wish that if men could understand, like, if you go, like, easiest answer, if you buy a pair of Soni Panda pantyhose, which you should, get yourself like any sort of color that matches your gym outfit, right? So you go in a gym shirt, you get yourself a long pair of gym shorts, and then underneath the gym shorts, you put on a pair of whatever colored pantyhose you wear, socks, sneakers. I can guarantee you're not going to look out of place whatsoever, because a lot of guys do that with the workout tights. But to me, that's just too much. I'm like, that's a lot. Like, because those are thicker and they're sort of like wetsuits. It's like, I don't need to sweat myself to death at the gym. And that's how I started it. I and then graduated to sheer and nude. And then not once has anybody ever said anything to me negative. I've gotten positive, but nothing negative, because I think the people who come up, if somebody was to come up and say something negative, it has to do with their fascination with it. And that's it. Like, if somebody comes up to you and says something insulting to you, that's a reflection on whatever their insecurities are dealing with. They're more than likely seeing a person living a life that they don't have the bravery to do. And the first thing they're going to do is insult them because they want to bring them down a peg. And so if somebody does say something negative to you, just be like, okay, well, have a nice one, and just walk off. But I honestly don't think anybody will, because also people just are like, we all are really kind of only focused on ourselves and throughout the day. I mean, have you ever gone home after a hard day at work and thought hard about like somebody's outfit that you saw? Like really were like, I can't believe that outfit. It was so annoying. Like,
No, no, the only time I ever would is if someone wore such a beautiful outfit and I can't get it out of my head because I want it.
but see,
But
that's the
no,
same thing. It's because if you're
yeah,
fascinated by, if you want it, that means it's like, that's sort of the other spectrum of it. If you despise it, or you want it, it doesn't matter because there's an attraction to it. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
so anybody who focuses on any sort of like singular thing like that, you have to question the undercurrent of what
Oh,
the
yeah.
reasons why. So yeah, it's like, but most of the time you don't think about other people's clothing when you come home from work. I mean, it's tricky enough to think about getting your own clothing together every morning. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, and I do understand that. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I wear black entirely, because no choices, and also covers up sweat really well.
Oh, yeah. I think that's very true.
I live in Florida, so basically I can't wear anything light colored because after about 5 minutes outside, it looks like my t-shirt's crying.
No.
Oh, it's terrible. Like it's
Oh, bless.
like I can lose. You don't have gallons over there, so let me see if I could get the converter. But I can lose. Like say, what do you guys use instead of gallons to measure
Like
your?
we use liters and I
Okay,
suppose we can, yeah, sometimes people use gallons. It's not like uncommon,
I can
but
lose 7.5 meters or 7.5 liters of sweat a day.
whoa,
Oh yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Like I'll get on the scale if it's been a sweaty day and I haven't drank enough. Like we're talking 7, 8 pounds of like water gone. So
Wow.
I retain a lot of water and I let loose a lot of water, and so yeah, black works. But I am wearing nude pantyhose today because what's nice is they're super sheer, and that's actually another reason why I like wearing the pantyhose too, because
Yeah.
when you're in Florida, you have the really clingy heat that
Yeah.
when the humidity, because of the humidity, your sweat doesn't evaporate. It just sort of hangs there and then drips off you. But with the pantyhose, it acts kind of like as that moisture wick kind of like
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love it. I mean, it's wonderful. Like and again, so that's an example of me sort of stepping my foot into sort of the fashion or the functionality aspect of it,
Mm.
and moving from there.
No, that is awesome. And to be fair, do you know what? I completely agree with you in terms of wearing hosiery in hot weather, because a lot of people are like, how can you? It's so hot. Oh my God, aren't you like sweaty? And I think that's the thing. It's like obviously because once I get it on, I'm dry. I'm not sweating at this point. But it is just like it's one, especially when I'm out and about, when like in the UK somewhere, and it is very that really hot, humid, sticky heat rather than a
Mhm.
dry heat. It's brilliant. It's like, if anything, my legs don't sweat. Everything
Right.
else can, and my legs don't. And it's like the best thing ever. And I say that to a lot of people, but then it's like you've got to try it to kind of understand it. It's one
Yeah,
thing sort of sitting here saying it.
it doesn't make sense to people. It's like, well, how could putting on more clothes make you less hot? But then
Yeah.
if you
It's
look
like,
at the
don't you
Seminole
know?
Indians in Florida, if you've ever seen pictures of like the Seminole Indian tribes, like in Florida,
Mm.
they had pounds and pounds and pounds of clothes on over, and they were living in the Everglades because the effect that they had was eventually, if you put enough clothing over yourself, it
Mm.
stops the heat from the sun coming in and actually keeps you cool because you're basically underneath a giant dark, like box. And
Yeah.
I mean, and that's an extreme version of it, but that it sort of gives you the idea of like, yeah, eventually the heat can't get through. So
Mm.
for
Yeah.
pantyhose, it's like, yeah, it wicks it wicks the sweat off of your legs. And then because the material itself is not meant to retain water, it dries
Mm.
very quickly, as opposed to your skin, which is constantly making it. And so it wicks it away. It's like I mean, it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can't just Hosiery's too good. It's just
Yeah.
too good for
And
every scenario.
I mean, yeah, it's for me, it's like I just can't even imagine an outfit without it anymore. It's sort of,
Yeah, and you know, I'm exactly the same. Since wearing hosiery from obviously a young age, it's hard to style an outfit without it now. Because I always say, like, when everyone's like, "Oh, how do you style an outfit?" I was like, I pick my hosiery first, and then I style my outfit around that. And it's always been like that. I can't ever say I'm gonna pick out a dress. Oh, what hosiery do I wear? It's like boom, 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 boom.
that makes sense though.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a concept that's always worked for me. And it's when I've sort of suggested it to people, I was like, look, try it this way around. It's worked for some and it hasn't worked for some. It just depends on what you're like. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's I can't live without it now, to be fair. If someone said to me, can you just not wear tights anymore? I'd be like, what?
You're like, why?
What? What? Can I just give you my legs as well?
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, great. Now I just like, now I mean, for me, it's almost the point where I'm like, I feel almost like showing up to a fancy event, not wearing like showing up to a wedding wearing shorts and a tuxedo kind of thing, where
Yeah,
it's like it makes the outfit like less classy, if that.
yeah.
And I mean that
Yeah.
sounds judgy, but that's just my thoughts on it.
No, and you know, I agree as well. It is just like, don't get me wrong, I don't mind a bare leg now and again, but when I am bare legged and wearing a dress or shorts or just like a mini skirt or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, I need to wear tight. Honest to God, it's like I can't do bare legged anymore. I find it so weird. And it's like now if I do, well, not even if I do, it's like I'll end up going for like 5 deniers or 8 deniers. So it's like I've got something, but then at the same time it looks like I'm bare legged. So you think, okay, the best of both worlds, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I
But
mean,
yeah, now I agree.
I blame Sex in the City for that phenomena because that whole show it was about, like wearing bare-legged and
Yeah.
and you want to say to people like, look, not everybody is Sarah Jessica Parker, not everybody is
Yeah.
Kim Cattrall. And they're wearing makeup, like they're wearing leg makeup, there is a great brand that I use that is wonderful. Like you can hide the flaws, but unless you got legs that are photo ready,
Yeah.
sometimes it's okay to use a pair of tights to maybe cover up some things that are like, I don't know. It's nobody's fault if our bodies age. I know that at 50, I'm not going to have the like statuesque legs of a 20-year-old male. It's just like the dimpling and the sagging and the varicose
Yeah.
veins and the whatnot. They happen. Aging happens,
Yeah.
you know. So maybe what's so wrong with a pair of pantyhose? Like it keeps the
Mm.
shape, but then you don't have to worry about scaring the children if you because you've seen it. You've seen it before. Where you walk out and you're like, oh, where it looks like somebody took like a meat tenderizer to the knee or something. It's like oh, hmm,
About that.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, not judging, totally judging. I'm sure. Hopefully, your fans don't think like, wow, this guy's an asshole. But
No, do you know what? It's like I'm actually hoping a lot of people appreciate this just because it is different. You are so different to like the people who normally come on here, but in the sense of it's a good thing. It's a good different. I'm not
good.
splitting anyone, just saying each to their own, but it's just nice. I think just the fact that it's just straight up blunt, this is how I feel, da da da, and it's like, yes.
And I encourage if any Sony fans want to challenge me, or even if you want to tell me that my opinion is wrong and here's why I need to shut up, I'm open to that. I love it. Like I'm not gonna be the kind of person who is like gonna start an argument. Please write me a letter and say, "Dear Pantyhose King, you're a dum dum. Here is why." And I will read it and I will respond because I'm open to. I mean, I am open to being told when a hot take I have is not so hot when it is
Mm,
it's just a cold take or maybe even a dead on arrival take. I'm
yeah.
open to it. So I do hope that everybody understands that I'm not trying to come off as snarky or bitchy, even though I appear heavily to be doing so. But that's just because I'm a bitch. But I'm also nice. I promise. I swear.
No,
Please
he
love
is. I
me.
can vouch. He is. He actually is. Um, But okay, do you know what? Actually, do you know, literally, it's just come to my head now, right? So you know how obviously before before the introduction, we just obviously went off on a tangent.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
just want to ask you, right? So obviously, because everybody wears different brands, whether it is unbranded, brands we've never heard of, brands we have heard of, top quality, low quality, whatever. Like, what's your take? So, and I only say that because it's, for instance, a lot of people I've been speaking to recently. Um, Obviously it doesn't help with the whole like cost of living, especially in the UK with the cost of living, everything's going up, it's making it hard to buy stuff. And I totally respect that. So obviously a lot of people can't buy top tier quality
Hmm.
hosiery at the moment. And so they're obviously having to budget, go for lower quality ones. And it is, I'm always asking, oh, look, what do you think about it? How do you feel about it? What they're like on? Da, da, da. Don't get me wrong, I've done my fair share. I still kind of do. And it's just, I just want to hear your thoughts and opinions on the whole kind of like, do you do unbranded, branded, top, low quality, and everything in between? Like, what's your views on that?
Well, my views on it is I'm in the same boat where let's face it, we all don't have Wolford. Like most of us don't have Wolford money to be thrown left and right. I have no, I don't, I tend to not do unbranded because it's if I'm going to do like I'll say I'll run to Target and I'll buy. In America, we have a company called Legs, and they have a perfectly serviceable, like very comfortable pair of medium support hose that you can get two pairs of them for about $9. And
Oh,
they come
wow.
together,
Okay.
yeah, and they last for a very long time, and they even like work well as a base layer if you want to like get a little cool effect, because a lot of times layering you can get that kind of like cool look that you may not get with other stuff. So I'm totally pro those. I mean, I know some people, poo poo anything under a certain amount of money, but the Legs brands are fantastic. I can literally go to the store, pick up a pair, and go home. Amazon's fine and great, but but if you're trying to order, especially if you're trying to order overseas, because whether you could pay as much as you want in shipping, but like if you order something from Europe, it's going to take a couple of weeks to get
Yeah.
to the United States and or wherever it's heading. And so you know and sometimes you just need it now. So I'm for the low cost stuff, and but unbranded I stay away from, because I usually that means it's coming from China. And and again, this is not, and I hope it, I'm not trying to sound xenophobic. I'm just saying the quality of the mass production that's going on over there. The hose are, they feel great, but right, but they tear super easy. If they are dyed with any color, that color runs, and they don't last long. I mean, like oftentimes, first time putting them on kind of runs, which is
Yeah.
always a nightmare. So I avoid unbranded from that cost only, from that aspect only. So
Yeah.
that's how I think I feel about that.
No, fair enough. And it's I only asked just obviously because I know a lot of people are going to appreciate that as well. And I will agree with you on that because the amount that I've done, even when I first started reviewing, and still to this day, I still do touch upon a couple of pairs from China and around Asia and stuff. And especially Turkey is another one that I'm not really a fan of.
Really, Turkey is that's
Yeah,
interesting.
because it's been very like okay, so one brand right that I tried was Penty, and very hit and miss if I'm honest. It's pretty much China quality, but with a bit of a price tag on it. And not a heavy price tag, don't get me wrong. It's still affordable, but I was not a fan. I bought a couple of pairs when I actually went to Turkey with one of my friends for a holiday, thinking, oh my God, yeah, like I really want to try these. Got a good couple of pairs. And it was like it wasn't the greatest. It was something that I could have literally picked up from like so all like sort of high street stores would be like New Look or H&M. I won't class Zara. Zara's a bit more sort of up there, but like so call it New Look and H&M. Um, it was like I could have picked up those pairs for like £5, £6 here, and it was like oh, but it is just I find yeah mass production. It's never the greatest, but I always find like they're not done well. Like this is obviously my opinion, not trying to slate anything or anyone, but it is just I find like they itch the legs horribly, so I can't be in them all day. It is
Hmm.
they don't I feel like they don't sit right. And one thing like okay, so I know a lot of bigger bodied people, especially with bigger sizes, they would need the double seams at the back. I don't like that. I'm oh my God, it's so uncomfortable. And I always find anything China done or Asia done, they have that. Oh my God.
Which
And
doesn't make sense because
I hate
they
it.
really build them for, they don't build them for larger bodies,
Yeah.
period. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not trying to put everybody into one like giant sort of statistic, but on a whole, people from that part of the world do not tend to be big the way that say Europeans or specifically Americans, and I know Americans, we are, we can't put down the fork. I get it, but we're also very tall too, and there's
Yeah.
nothing more like disappointing than ordering a pair and pulling it up past your knees and realizing this isn't even going to make it all the way up.
Mm,
And
I get
if you're like 6'5", 6'6", I mean, good luck. Like
yeah.
there's not going to be a lot of choices out there for you. So that's another issue with the manufacturing of over China, because they don't seem to understand that people can be taller than 5'9".
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean,
It's not a done thing.
I'd imagine they are perfectly wonderful if they fit
Mm,
you like with ease, but
yeah.
you know, it's there's like my thighs have the ability to, like, my thighs are so big that other smaller thighs want to orbit them. So I just they don't work for me. Like
Yeah.
deadlifting was a thing I love to do in the gym.
Mm,
It basically, the way it built my body was my thighs muscles got bigger and bigger. So I basically have like size 43 or 44 thighs, but then a 40 waist, and pants
yeah.
very difficult to find to fit.
Yeah.
And that also goes double for pantyhose. But Sony's fit wonderfully. Like I'm just wearing them right now. Like I can literally just like, sure, I can move around. Nothing, not a problem.
Well, I've got to say, your thighs are gorgeous. I've got like, oh, a guy with a good pair of thighs. Oh,
Oh, thank you. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm going
honestly,
to.
I'll have to put down like your Instagram and all your details in the description box. But please, people, like check him out. He's got legs of like, oh God.
Oh, thank you.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. Like that's going straight to my ego.
Oh, well, I'm glad because no, honestly, it's like I like a good pair of legs on a guy, and it's like that's what I mean. It's like I love buyer leg fees because some of them it's like, do you know how gorgeous your legs are? And they're just like, no, and it's like, okay, let me sit here and talk to you about how gorgeous your legs are, and yeah, it's just women love
Like,
it.
and
They
it's,
do.
it's like when you see a pair of legs, you're like, what?
Uh-huh.
What? Like it's not even like it's not necessarily a sexual thing. It's more of like they should be photographed.
Yeah,
Somebody should make a sculpture out of that. Like,
yeah,
and that's another thing too. It's like it really does. It can take legs from like just a basic objectification to really a thing of beauty. When like
mm,
there's just there's something about it that it's so diverse that it can be something that can, again, start out as maybe something, and this is for men, starting out as something, maybe that was like sexual curiosity, but it blooms into self-expression, to art. I mean, like, I
mm,
always find it cool when guys can like wear them in a setting that's, that maybe it matches the theme of the photography, or that kind of stuff. And, it's
yeah.
sky's the limit.